What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. I hope everybody's doing well, and hopefully you have checked out yesterday's video. If you haven't yet checked it out, I highly suggest you do, just so that you're in line with this week's expectations and so that you can follow along nicely. But I'm going to dive straight into things, starting on the dollar as per usual, and you'll see how today traded pretty much as I anticipated, in that we tried to fill this, well, we did pretty much fill this little imbalance that has been formed here, and then my bias still remains the same and expected and wanted to see us trade higher towards the buy side, because if you remember in yesterday's video, I was talking about the likelihood of us wanting to return to a level of equilibrium after trading into some monthly PD arrays. So I'm not going to talk too much on yesterday's video, but all these PD arrays are from yesterday, and it all makes sense as to why I've got this bias. But nonetheless, you can see today we opened, traded lower, again trading into that fair value gap, filling it, and we also traded into this long wick as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to divide it, and you can see that we pretty much just traded past that 25% level, and it looks like we're just bouncing off that now. So the fact that we now traded to that 25% level, I'd like to think that it's going to use that as support, as in price should it need to drop down back below that, so we'll get that marked out. Similarly, this blue line is the midpoint of this bullish order block. We didn't even get anywhere near there, so that's kind of added the fact that we failed to get down there today. I doubt we're going to run down there tomorrow. The lowest I'd want to see is this 50% level, but the fact that we've traded to 25% level means that now I'm looking at that more closely. So what I might do is actually just move this higher. Let's get rid of this first. Move this higher to the 25% level, delete this, and then we can drop down to the 4 hour and take a closer look. So you can see our price is just kind of consolidating quite heavily around this level. Now this is a bullish order block, and in yesterday's video I was explaining how it should hold price assuming we are bullish, and you can see the way that price is messing around with that 25% level of the wick. We're getting that. So moving into tomorrow, I expect nonetheless pretty much just the same as we wander into the new day, but ideally we start to see some kind of draw higher, as overall, remember, I'm looking for these relative equal highs to get traded to. Now I don't really expect much to be happening tomorrow because it's FOMC minutes, and what you'll find is that price will consolidate right through to about 2 p.m. New York, and then we'll have that until then we'll have the FOMC minutes, which starts at 2 p.m. and price will it will just get really messy. It doesn't usually run anywhere, it just gets messy, and then I'm not really expecting much until we have PPI and CPI on Thursday and Friday anyway, so I would be very careful in these conditions and be a bit more patient this week. But generally speaking, I just want to see us continue to wander above that Sunday opening price, which is right here, start looking for those Monday highs, and ideally trading into our buy side liquidity target. But overall, the lowest I'd expect price to trade is this fair value gap right here. That's the very lowest I'd allow price to trade. I think it'd be a bit inconsiderate if I was to expect this blue level to hold price tomorrow, considering how close we are to it right now. But I say this level, this level right here, because it's also lined up with this bullish order block. So I'm happy for us to tap into it if we need to, but ideally we just start to see continued strength on the back of the news. But again, I'm not really going to be saying too much until that FOMC minutes is out of the way. But yeah, pretty nice day in general. It's nice to see us fill in the range I was talking about, but other than that, the actual trading day itself, very messy in that we've had a lot of back and forth price action. They're obviously consolidating what they're doing. They're putting in orders. Why? Because they know, and I'm talking about, when I say they, I mean smart money knows, that we are likely going to have an expansion at some point on the back of CPI and PPI, and they're obviously putting in the orders. That's what consolidation is, and we need to allow for that. So they're going to continue to use this as time dilation, and then remember, I'm looking at these relative equal highs here and here to be potentially traded to later in the week, so long as this range, and this is the range I'm looking at, this high to this low, pretty much, so long as we stay above the 50% level of here, which lines up with that fair value gap which I was talking about, so long as we're in the top mid half of this, I'm happy to remain bullish. Any lower, so let's say we end up trading through this fair value gap, whole different story, and then we'd have to start thinking about these lows. But to be honest, I'm not prepared to be analysing that side of the market, just because I have my bias and it's built on, higher time frame PD arrays. So yeah, again, definitely go check it out, yesterday's video, if you haven't yet. But other than that, yeah, very consolidated day, lots of back and forth price action, just time to be a little bit more patient. So let's head on to GBP USD. You'll see how that traded, and look at that, we tapped right into the level I was talking about yesterday. So let's go to the daily real quick, and this is drawn from the monthly, I believe. Yes, this is an inversion fair value gap from the monthly. I was saying it should act as an inversion fair value gap, in that when price trades to it, we should get a reaction, and that's exactly what we've seen today. Traded right up to it, tapped it, and look at that reaction. Also, it's formed the fair value gap. Now, don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that price can't trade up into that tomorrow. But remember, we have this bias now of wanting to see some kind of continuation to the downside, assuming that dollar can trade higher. We have a beautiful fair value gap down here, beautiful relative equal lows down here, but our first draw will definitely be this gap below here. So I'm not going to draw the box out just because too many boxes stress me out, but I'm going to draw this as south side liquidity as a potential draw, and then I'll be looking at this, today's wick that's been formed, even though we haven't closed yet. Yeah, I think we're closing very soon, or we've closed. So I'll be looking at that 50% level and 25% level. Ideally, it will respect one or the other. But I say that because we like to see the high, or we like to see the high and low of the weeks get created on Tuesdays. Ideally, that makes things easier for us. So that's why I say that. It can happen on Wednesdays, but again, with the high impact news and the way that price is behaving in general, I'm not really anticipating us to be rallying anymore anyway. So here's another thing to take a look at. We've got a 4-hour fair value gap. Look at how price trades into this. Now, if I draw out the 50% level off this, you'll see that lines up with the 50% level off that wick that I just drew out. Remember from the daily, that's 50% level, isn't it? So if we drop down to the 4-hour, that just happens to be the 50% level off this fair value gap as well. And look at volume. Volume is respecting it here, 25% level even. Here it's completely below it. So any kind of rallying into here, I'm anticipating us to continue to see resistance. I like the way it's ran stops above these relative equal highs here, here, and here on a 4-hour basis, and it's came away from it. So we're seeing rejection, and we're seeing a willingness to want to go into that south side liquidity and into our fair value gap, which we have marked down there. So let's go to the 1 hour, see if we can find some more support. And again, similar to dollar, very consolidated day, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Price is going to do this. It is going to do it. There's nothing you can do about it. I don't suggest trading in these conditions. I'd probably just wait till after the FOMC minutes. I'd just wait. But it's interesting to see the way we're filling this range. So this is an imbalance. But look, we've traded up on the upside in it, on the downside, on the upside, 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 on the downside. Look how much price is consolidating within this gap. They're doing this for a reason. This is obviously a very significant price point, and what's going to happen is the price is going to leave it. Now, obviously you want to know, okay, he's going to leave it going higher, he's going to leave it going lower. I don't know, but we have higher time frame biases that will suggest to us that it's going lower. This is why I suggest you watch yesterday's video. But my point is, so long as price holds, as long as we continue to consolidate the way we are, we stay below this level. Look at how we tapped this and came off it. So long as this kind of behavior continues and we don't see anything out of the ordinary like large expansions to the upside, then I'm happy to remain bearish with the expectation to run the south side and trade into this fair value gap. Here is looking a bit ambitious, but in yesterday's video I did state the price doesn't need to trade to this week necessarily. I'm just expecting us to reach it in this month in general, but here is definitely an easy target, and then this fair value gap, assuming it behaves itself around this range that we're seeing around here. So I hope that all makes sense. But yeah, looking at this price action, I would not. Do you really want to be trading in this? Look at this. You know, it's not the cleanest, but when price leaves it, we'll know about it, and we should be able to get in on some pretty clean and expansive moves. So that's everything on pound. I hope that all makes sense. Let's finish up on Euro USD. Again, beautiful delivery. Well, I say beautiful, this looks disgusting, but I mean in terms of accuracy as to where price was trading to, you can see it right to the pip. So in yesterday's video, again, I drew out, it was this weekly PD array, or was it monthly PD array? I drew out this range right here. I can't remember why. But anyway, nonetheless, you can see how price has used this range. Look how we traded to the 50% level off it, and then price has been tapping into it today as well and just staying below it. So long as price continues to stay below it, I can remain with my bias of wanting to see lower prices. Not really much has changed today. Like compared to yesterday's video, I really haven't changed. I'm not saying much different at all. Everything remains the same so long as we continue to respect the bearish PD arrays, which is exactly what we're getting. So I'm not really too concerned, but it is interesting to see the way we are expecting this range. I just wish I could figure out why I delineated that range specifically. I can't recall, but nonetheless, I think it might be that I'm looking at this level right here. But nonetheless, yeah, as long as we stay, you know, relatively respective of this, which we're seeing here, and when I say respective, I'm looking at the volume. Look at the way that volume is respecting the 50% level, and look at how we're tapping into it, where we're tapping into it. 25% level here, 25% level here, 50% level here. Price is fading, it's refusing to trade higher. Now, as much as I do want to see price drop off and continue to trade lower, the fact that it is tapping into it, you could argue, is weakening it, in that, you know, we might get that expansion, and that would mean that dollar would obviously be dropping. So it all depends on, I think tomorrow's going to be very eye-opening to us, in that we're going to see it's going to open its hands to the rest of the week, basically. So if we do lose dollar, as if it does start to trade through into this range and start to look incredibly weak, we can then start looking at these lows the same way that euro will start to see large expansion towards these highs. It's just that based off my higher time frame, and I listed this yesterday, I am looking for euro to be able to trade lower. So it's just a matter of paying close attention to that range. But what I'm going to do, just because I'm a bit unsure as to why these are there, I can't remember, silly me, I am going to be looking at this wick. This is a rejection block level technically, and we'll look at the 50% level, and then we can pay close attention to this tomorrow, because again, if we continue to see the same respect we're seeing in terms of prices failing to trade much higher than that 50% level, it could set us up nicely with the expectation that price is going to roll over and trade on lower into these relative equal lows below here and here. Beautiful sell stops below there, and then we can start looking and thinking about these relative equal lows below here as well. But again, this is assuming it does respect this range. And then yeah, I'm looking at this closely because this is technically a breaker, and that is the last down close candle before an up move, and we've only traded lower since, so technically price should be using it as a breaker, so you can see how we're tapping into it. But I don't like how much time we are spending around there, to be honest. But again, with this type of week with FOMC minutes, I'm not really that surprised. So yeah, that's going to be everything, guys. I hope that all makes sense. Definitely go watch yesterday's video. Don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment, smash subscribe, join the mailing list, join me over on Discord. All the links are in the description, and I will try and catch you tomorrow. I'm in London tomorrow, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to record, but if not, I will be on the Discord, or I'll send some screenshots or something, and then I'll be back again on Thursday as per usual. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.